after the mandatory parade lap, and Joe Ruttman with matching STP Petty blue helmets climbs in. Richard Petty, who is on his way up here to the booth to join with us. The starting lineup for today's race. On the pole with a brand new track record is Terry Labonte. Tim Brewer is the crew chief this week. Starting on the outside of row number 1 is Jeff Bodine. Richard Broom has been assigned the crew chief, and Jeff is another one of the 4 drivers qualifying faster than the old record. Darrell Waltrip, Tim Hammond moves over from Junior Johnson to him. They're third, and on the outside is Ricky Rudd, one of the more successful drivers here. Row number 3 in 5th position is Tim Richmond, the man who won a week ago, and on his outside is Morgan Shepherd. Larry McReynolds and crew have moved Morgan to the 6th starting spot for today's race. In 7th is Rusty Wallace, the Midwestern driver who's moved to North Carolina, and he is flanked by Dale Earnhardt, the big winner in the early part of this season. In 9th and 10th, on the inside first is Bill Elliott, the awesome Bill from Dawsonville, and he is flanked by another Ford, a pair of Fords, Kyle Petty, of course from Randleman, in the outside of this row. In the 6th row, 11th starting position, Benny Parsons, Tim Richmond's teammate, one of 5 as a matter of fact for today, and Harry Gant, a man struggling to improve on the last couple of seasons. In 13th and 14th starting positions, Bobby Allison, the inside, remember, is the right-hander on a road course, and Neil Bonnet on the outside in car number 75, the Mock-Rahilly Valvoline Pontiac. Side of turn number 1 of Jeff Bodine. This is over a 2-mile circuit of road course. The first part of the course is a series of S's, Dick Berggren.
Yeah, it's mostly right-hand turns. These are the S's now. Watch Labonte sort of slip and slide his car through there. They'll cut low on each of these. The white you see on the inside of the track, Labonte just went over it now. That's a corduroy. Here's another corduroy. The right side wheels just went over that. Very rough still. Most of the drivers do run their inside wheels on the corduroy, Larry.
They are recognized, the S's are turns 2 through 6. This is a hard right-hander. It's turn number 8. Turn number 7, the permanent turn number 7 on this course, is not used for these heavy-duty 3,500-pound Winston Cup stock cars. This is the longest part of this racetrack, 3/5 of a mile down the backstretch.
And they really get some speed here, Larry. This is certainly the fastest part of the racetrack. Speed estimates vary anywhere from 150 to 180, 185 miles an hour. And then they're going to turn, and they're going to take a little bit of a turn into what's known as turn 9.
And if we were going counterclockwise, like you do on an oval, this would be like the oval or the turn on a 1-mile oval, but they're going clockwise, so the cars are turning to the right, but it's about a 1/3 of a mile around there. Coming down to complete lap number 1, it's going to be Labonte, Jeff Bodine, Ricky Rudd, Tim Richmond, and Darrell Waltrip, the top 5. There you see Joe Ruttman trying to make his way through the field. He's just gone underneath George Fulmer. Yes, that's the same George Fulmer who has done so well in road racing and works out often with the IROC cars. Now he's going to the outside of Jim Bound from Portland, Oregon. Jim is another one of the Winston West regular competitors who does well on this track. There is Brett Bodine, and Joe Ruttman has eclipsed 12 cars on this first lap.
Ruttman is really running very, very well, Larry. He's got to get through virtually the entire field before he's going to be in any position to contend, but he did not lose a lap on that driver change, so he still certainly has a legitimate shot to win this event here this afternoon.
Joe has moved up to Rick McRae. There's Joe. You see the big STP patch on the hood. Going to the left side, make that the right side. That's the inside of that right-hander to Rick McRae, a man who has won a Winston West race on ESPN a couple years back, and Rick has qualified fairly stoutly in 24th position for today's race. There is 55 Phil Parsons going around Bobby Hillin Jr. The early stages of this 400-kilometer event at Riverside, California. Terry Labonte, the pole setter, a brand new track record. He was one of 4, as we mentioned, during the starting grid, the rush starting grid. And here are the leaders. Labonte still stays on top. Jeff Bodine, who has a lot of sentiment as one of the favorites in today's race, and Ricky Rudd, who has performed quite well here at Riverside in recent years.
Labonte has yet to win a race in 1987, nor has Jeff Bodine, and both of those drivers thought they were going to have terrific years in 1987. Labonte right now clearly in control. This is not a time to get particularly aggressive or to get a little bit wild with the automobile. Riverside is a very demanding course, a lot of places where you can make a mistake, so they're going to be very careful at this portion of the racetrack to be sure they don't run off course or get into any kind of problem.
We saw the graphic. Terry Labonte has yet to win in 1987. And given this man's personal history and the history of his car owner, Junior Johnson, that surprises a lot of people. But Dale Earnhardt, recall, in the early weeks of this season, gobbled up a lot of wins that might have gone to other people. There are a lot of people searching for their first win of 1987.
And one of them is Joe Ruttman. And Larry, he has picked up 15 spots in that very first lap.
Maximum speed that these monsters will reach here at Riverside is about 150, 155 miles an hour. There you can see Rusty Wallace chasing Dale Earnhardt, perhaps attempting to follow him through. Dale Earnhardt, who started today's race in 8th position, has pretty much held his ground, as have many of the top 10 contenders. The only man making a significant move has been Joe Ruttman, and when Richard Petty gets up here, he'll be very happy to see that. As Dick mentioned, you can see Darrell Waltrip moving back and forth, moving through the S's. Darrell is one of the drivers who likes to give perhaps a little more movement to his machine as he goes through the S's. Dick, we see a lot of people trying to straighten those out, but not Darrell.
Darrell almost dances on this racetrack, Larry. You know, some drivers say that they wear the car. Well, Waltrip dances with his car, and he slides it, and he slips it, and he's got a beautiful rhythm. And I'll tell you, if you really enjoy the professionalism of motorsports, watching Darrell Waltrip run this racetrack is an absolute delight.
The drivers will tell you that for the most part, unlike many other Winston Cup tracks, as we look at Dale Earnhardt, the only driver to finish all 12 races this year, you race the track here at Riverside. You're fender to fender, door to door, bumper to bumper on most of the super speedways in the South, and you really have to pace yourself based on how the other competitors in the event are going. But here at Riverside, the drivers will tell you it's hot. It's a road course. There's a lot of work. Even if it was very clement temperatures down in the vicinity of 55 or 60 degrees, it'd still be tough work. You've got to race yourself and the track.
Attrition is such a problem here. You've got to be very careful that you don't mess up the gearbox. Some of the drivers will go through 10 different gear changes during a single lap, and it's really easy to damage that thing. So you've got to be very careful of that. You also have to be very careful of where you put the race car. You can't run too far off course. You'll pick up some rocks on the tires and cut them down. It's not just a matter of avoiding the walls and avoiding the barriers and not spinning out. You've got to be careful of everything you do here. This may be the easiest racetrack on the whole circuit to make a mistake.
Terry Labonte still looking for win number 1 of 1987. He's had a very good week, and he's had a good, but in terms of race wins here at Riverside, Terry Labonte has 2. Jeff Bodine, who's now running in second, beginning to flash signs like, hey, I'd like to challenge. He has won 1. Ricky Rudd has won 2 of the last 8 races. Bobby Allison, surprisingly, has won 6. The win list is relatively small. It takes a special touch to win here at Riverside.
These are all new cars at the head of the pack, Larry. Here's a brand new car that Labonte has got that they built specifically and exactly for road course racing. Tim Brewer has put this car together so it's got a very low center of gravity. That's because they have to do so much turning with the automobile. It's a factory car. Bodine's is also a factory car, meaning one of the major chassis builders has constructed it. And they are certainly pleased with the way these cars are running so far today.
We will go 95 laps. That's 248.9 miles. It works out to 400 kilometers. Now, in case you're wondering, those of you who follow Winston Cup racing know that everybody attempts to go 100 miles on a load of fuel. And Kyle Petty has pulled into the pits. Kyle Petty, who has an opportunity to celebrate Father's Day in the presence of his father, has come in early. He was running in 12th position. Kyle's had a very good season, one of their better ones in the last 3 or 4 years. And a lot of people felt that with the expertise and the ease with which he qualified, he might be a candidate for a front position. There is George Foamer trailing lots of smoke. George Foamer, who's an excellent road racer, brought a Winston Cup car here, made the race, and as we watched George, I also saw going very slowly down the backstretch, Roy Smith, another Winston West driver who has performed quite well, as a matter of fact, in this race. Back up front, Terry Labonte, Jeff Bodine. Labonte has led since the drop of the green flag, and Bodine has stalked him.
This is one of Labonte's better tracks. It's also one of Labonte's worst tracks, Larry. He has had a lot of success on this speedway. He also has suffered 2 of his worst crashes on this speedway. Back in 1982 in the Winston West Western 500. That's the fall companion race to this event. He really stuffed it into turn 9. He hit the wall virtually square on and broke his leg and cut his face all up, and that was the worst. But a few weeks later, he was on the stage in the Waldorf Astoria Hotel to accept his awards for the Winston Cup season that had just concluded. He got there on crutches.
Saw the average speed of the race up to this point is 113 miles per hour. This race figures to go less than 3 hours. Not being a super speedway, we do not anticipate a lot of yellow flags. The average yellow flag count over the last 8 races here has been 3. So that gives you an idea of what the crew chiefs are dealing with here. To be exact, make that 4.3. We had 7 in the fall race a year ago, but that was unusual. There's Rusty Wallace coasting without any power on the left-hand side of your screen. Rusty Wallace, who was running comfortably in the top 10 in that Kodiak car. He comes in the entrance that is illegal. Now, he'll be penalized if he's allowed to go, or if he is able to go back out 30 seconds before he leaves the pits, but that is a safety move, and the driver has to make that calculation. Is that the best that I can do? And Rusty, without power, said, yeah, I'm not going to try and coast all the way around. Very flat terrain, Dick, and if somebody stops out on course, it's not like coasting off the banks at Talladega, is it?
No, this is one racetrack, Larry, where you just can't run out of gas, and you've got to be sure that you get back into the pit area. So far, Rusty has not made it to the pit area. You just cannot get stuck in turn 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, any of that sort of place. Because if you do, the wreckers will not bring you back to your pits. Your crew is not allowed to go out and get you. You just had it. Your day is over.
I'll tell you where Rusty has made it, though. There's an unusual configuration in the paddock area down here. Rusty has stopped at the hauler. Rusty has stopped where normally you cannot get when you're in the middle of competition, where they hold all the extra engines and extra parts. So Rusty has gone back to the traveling shop on wheels. There's Tim Richmond now, picking up on Richmond's progress. He too has held his own. You can see him running in 4th position. Ricky Rudd right in front of him, and you heard Tim mentioned that he wanted to stay within sight of the leaders here in the first few laps of this race. You also heard Dick mention that attrition often plays a major role. 28 of the 42 starters were all that finished this race a year ago.
Richmond is running really well this early in the event. One of the things that I would be concerned about here is his physical condition, however. This racetrack takes a lot out of you. It's not like running Pocono where you only shift when you're coming in and out of the pit area. Here he's got to shift going around a lot of corners. It's a very physical racetrack. You have to work very hard inside the car. Fortunately, it is not a hot day. It's a relatively cool day here in Southern California. That plays on Richmond's side.
Well, we commented about Rusty Wallace dropping out early. Don't know if it's terminal or not. Maybe our Marty Reed can tell us. Marty?
Larry, we can definitely assure you that it does appear to be terminal. Rusty, what happened out there?
Now, we've lost another engine. I don't know. We've got a problem in the problem somewhere with the oiling system we can't get. We've lost 3 of them now, and we'll just stay working at it. We can't get down about this. We're obviously way back in the point standings now. It's going to probably be all year before we can get caught back up if we can. So we just have to stay working and look for 88.
It's getting to be expensive fun.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. We'll just have to work it out. It's getting disappointing.
Not a lot of fun today for Rusty Wallace and the Kodiak crew. Let's go back out on course.
Thanks, Marty. Well, crew chief Barry Dotson and the entire Raymond Beetle Kodiak crew, they have done some pretty good work this year, because Rusty, not surprising to a lot of insiders, because a lot of people felt that that team had a tremendous amount of potential. Rusty has been in one of those positions to win that the drivers talk about several times this year. You know, Dick, a lot of people are talking about this season in terms of the points championship as we look at Morgan Shepherd and Darrell Waltrip as they are beginning to bunch up and battle for in the top 10. A lot of people are saying, gee, it might be over already for 1987.
Yeah, and we're not even at the halfway point in the season, but things are so tight and so tough in this league that indeed, if a team isn't within striking distance at this point, they just don't think that they can. Boy, Shepherd is running a good race. He's qualified well here. He is not known as a road racer, but look at this. He's holding up some very heavy competition behind him.
Dick, he has his own line around here, Morgan Shepherd does, particularly when it comes to braking and shifting. They're moving through that series of S's that we told you about earlier. They will work down into 3rd gear as they make their way through the S's. There'll be a little flick coming up to the right and then back to the left, and there's a downshift involved right there as they drop down to 2nd gear. You can see that flick. The pavement kind of bows out on the right-hand side of your screen. That's the left-hand side of the pavement. Now here is turn number 8. It's another downshift. Rather, they're still in 2nd gear. Correction on that. They'll shift up to 3rd gear as soon as they possibly can. Get that car straightened out. Work up through the RPMs. Cranking really hard on the up to 4th gear as soon as you possibly can for that big run down the long 3/5 mile and length back straightaway here at Riverside.
And this is about the only place these people can relax, Larry. There's not an awful lot that they can do until they get about at this point where Morgan Shepherd is now, where they have to start watching. And there are signs there, and the signs are numbered, so they know when to downshift, they know when to use the brakes, they know how to behave with the car. It helps their depth perception a great deal.
It is so important to take care of the car here at Riverside. The cars get much more work than they do, say, at Talladega or Darlington, or for that matter, even many of the short tracks on the Winston Cup Trail.
Means, however, seems to have it under control at this point. One guy who's not having problems, Joe Ruttman in the 43. Richard Petty's car is up all the way to 20th spot after starting 41st.
Dick, let's talk a little bit about aerodynamics. We saw the disruption on Jimmy Means' cars. By the way, the leaders are now moving up to pass the Buddy Arrington machine, but that is Chet Phillip behind the wheel this week. As you know, Chet and Buddy and a couple of other people. And Terry Labonte in a big slide as he goes around turn number 9, but saves it, gives Bodine a bird's eye view, but Terry never got out of the throttle. Back to the aerodynamics story. Aerodynamics are less this year than they ever have, and here at Riverside in the road course, I don't think they mean very much at all, except maybe on the backstretch, a little.
A little bit on the backstretch, Larry, and that's important because turn 9, which is at the end of the backstretch, is where an awful lot of the passing gets done. So aerodynamics count here, but they certainly don't count here the way they count at, say, Dover, or they count at Talladega, or other speedways where aerodynamics is much of the ball game.
By the way, if you think you're seeing double, you're seeing another Levi Garrett yellow and white car. There it goes, by in front of your screen. Now, that is Jim Fitzgerald, and that is the team car, one of 5 cars that Rick Hendrick has brought to Riverside here this weekend. Jim Fitzgerald, who has won many times in the IMSA ranks and the SCCA ranks, he is Rick Hendrick's instructor at Road Atlanta, and Rick Hendrick has been kind enough to award Fitzgerald with a ride in a Winston Cup car here at Riverside. He is the last car, or was the last car in the lead lap, about 30th position.
I sort of wonder who Hendrick is going to listen to on the radio today. He's got so many different cars to keep track of. My best guess is, though, this is the guy he's going to keep an eye on, at least right off the top, Bodine, because Bodine is doing the best of the Rick Hendrick cars so far.
Well, speaking about Rick Hendrick, Dick, and speaking about Jim Fitzgerald and the 5 cars, or how many cars Rick Hendrick wants to field, we think that we may be on the top of a breaking story. Now Bodine is going to put the challenges on Terry Labonte. Jeff Bodine made a very good turn number 9. Rick McRae is being lapped. Terry has to, or make that Jeff has to fall back in line behind Terry Labonte, but Jeff Bodine is beginning to suggest to Terry Labonte, boy, you better start hitting those apexes just right, because I'm knocking at your door.
He's just going to cruise now for a while, Larry. These are not good places to pass. You don't ordinarily pass in the S's. You don't ordinarily pass in turn 6 or turn 8. You start to set up for a pass coming out of turn 8. You work it through that long back stretch, and then you make it happen in turn 9, and if you can't, coming out of 9. Well, let's see if Bodine can put that together this time around.
We mentioned that breaking story. No, it's not just a matter of the shuffling of the crew chiefs. Well, let's find out exactly what the detail. And Darrell Waltrip has slid off course. Neil Bonnet is looking for a place to get by. Bobby Allison scoots by. Darrell Waltrip, Neil Bonnet, and Bobby Allison are the 3 people in the off-course excursion. They were running solidly in the top 10. Waltrip is the man who gets really the short end of the stick, but he appeared to be the man who was the impetus behind that incident.
And it appears as well as if Waltrip has got some fairly serious problems. A lot of smoke coming out from underneath that automobile. That was a brand new car, brand new crew chief for this team. They are looking for some success.
Well, Tim Hammond, who was with Darrell Waltrip during the championship years at Junior Johnson, has moved from Junior Johnson just this week to the number 17 car. Now, Waddell Wilson has stayed on, but Waddell becomes the team manager. I think I said Tim Hammond, I mean Jeff Hammond. I'm getting my Tim Brewers and my Jeff Hammonds mixed up here. Jeff Hammond is now the on-track crew chief, calling all of the decisions for coming into the pits, making pit stops, changing tires and whatever, and Waltrip, having gone off course, is returning to the pits.
Yeah, he's going to take that back road. That's an indication he's got some very serious problems with that car, Larry.
The leaders have now worked up toward the 6th car of D.K. Ulrich, which is being driven by Ron Esau, one of the West Coast drivers. You can see Jeff Hammond and everybody hovering over Darrell Waltrip's car, and Marty Reed is there.
Well, guys, there's a little bit of a confusion with Darrell coming in the back door. The crew started running for the trailer, and then all of a sudden they realized he was coming back to pit lane. As you can see, the hood is up. The smoke is pouring out of this thing. There's so many bodies through the camera for this angle. We cannot get a good look at exactly what they're working for, but it definitely smells like there's an oil line broken somewhere in there. And it does appear to begin to look like it's going to be a bad news situation for Darrell Waltrip. The car's being pushed back. We'll go back and try and talk to Darrell.
Darrell Waltrip has finished in the top 5 in his career 213 times, many of them in that red and white number 11. In 1987, Darrell Waltrip has finished in the top 5 once.
It's been a tough move for Darrell Waltrip, no question about it, Larry. He certainly expected a lot more success than he's had this year, but here's a guy that's going to enjoy a great deal of success in the ride Waltrip vacated. Terry Labonte running very, very well today. He has led every lap so far. Bodine content to sort of ride behind him. He's made one serious attempt to lead this event and one only.
38 laps is the 100-mile mark. We have completed 16, or we're not quite halfway there yet. Now, we don't anticipate everybody going to that 100-mile mark because, remember, there were the 2 warm-up laps before the race began. The 200-mile mark in this race is 76 laps, and for those of you who really keep track of what's going on, let's project back from the end of this race. Lap 57 is 100 miles from the end, so keep that figure in mind. And obviously we're talking about the normal load is 1 load of fuel per 100 miles. Bill Elliott are running side by side down the long backstretch. These guys have been combatants many times in the 1987 season, and right now Bill Elliott looks like he has the edge on Dale, and yes, he does. Bill Elliott picks up a position and moves from 8th to 7th position, so both of them are running solidly in the top 10. Well, joining us in the booth as promised, and we appreciate you very much, Richard, coming up here to join us. Richard Petty, did the change come off exactly the way you expected it to?
Yeah, everything went real good. You know, we just left the belts and stuff like what Joe runs, and he got in the car and was able to get through with the traffic pretty good to begin with. So it worked out pretty good. Now it's sort of settled down in the middle of the deal here, and we've got to sort of wait and see what happens from here.
Well, Richard, as you sit down, we've had the first lead change as we were introducing you. Jeff Bodine finally moved up and got around Terry Labonte, and now Tim Richmond looks like he's ready to challenge him. In your observations, I know that Joe practiced with the car, but do you have any feelings as to who might be the strong people all day here today?
Well, we're looking at the 3 strong ones right now. These are the ones that's the strongest. Now, you know what happens during the race, pit stops. There's a lot of different things that can change that, but these are the 3 best runners, and I can't see anybody coming out of the pack and really challenge at this particular time.
Tim was a little surprised. He had his sights, Dick, set on the pole. He was upset when his teammate Jeff Bodine went out. Now Tim is making a move to the inside of Labonte. You can't see it on that angle, but he may have room down there. You can see Tim way down on the bottom, and Terry giving him a lot of room. At this early stage of the race, it's not really sensible to race with him, is it, Rick?
This is true. You know, what you got to do here is race the racetrack. Don't worry about the cars where others are out running. You know what? You got you got to run the full race, and if you take care of your car, then a lot of those people don't. So you really don't race like we do on an oval where you race against the car. Here you race the track.
Dick, we were talking about Richmond kind of having his sights set on the pole, and then 4 guys got around him. Were you too surprised?
Not really. You know, the pole here doesn't mean all that much, Larry, and Richmond's real concern is not for winning poles at this point. He wants to win races. So, no, I wasn't terribly surprised. It's also a brand-new car.
Now, I know that's an orange number 14, and Richard Petty's going to say, that's A.J. Foyt, but he and I both know that's Harry Goulardi, who runs out here on the West Coast. Well, Darrell Waltrip is having another one of his agonizingly long days as the leaders emerge from a cloud of dust, and right now down in the pit area with more on the Waltrip story. Here's Marty.
Well, they are tearing apart the water pump radiator mechanism up front. Darrell Waltrip trying to stay calm and relaxed. This just not has been your season at all.
Well, fortunately, or maybe I'd usually say fortunately it's not over yet, but maybe I should say unfortunately it's not over yet. This is a very uncommon thing to have happen. But uncommon things have been happening lately, so I guess it's just something to be expected. I'm just thankful I didn't wreck the car. I almost was in bad shape up there.
Now, you're going to stay in the car because you're going to try and get back out in this.
Oh, we'll get back out, and, you know, we'll be 15, 20 laps behind probably. But this is Riverside, and you never know what might happen here. We certainly won't be a factor for winning, but we'll just go back out and get the best finish we can.
Another frustrating day for Darrell Waltrip, but the team will not give up.
Well, I'm on my way down to pit road, Larry. Richard Petty's a perfectly able person to replace me, so I'll be talking to you from down there.
Well, thanks, Dick. And we also would like to say hi to Stevie Waltz. 5 cars this weekend, Richard, but it doesn't seem to have made that big of a difference. His 2 lead drivers are where they kind of thought they would be up front.
Well, it really doesn't make any difference the way he's got his team set up. All these people pretty well operate individually. And, you know, it's not like he's got all 5 teams in one shop. He's got them scattered all around, and he can go check on them there. So it makes it a lot easier that way. He's the team owner that they all operate completely individually with each other.
I called them his lead drivers. That's not to say that they are the lead drivers everywhere they go, but on a road course, and based on what we saw this week, although Waltrip showed very well, you would have expected these 2 guys to have been among the lead drivers on the Hendrick team. Benny Parsons is still on the team, and we saw Jim Fitzgerald a little earlier. Now, Richmond is really punishing that car. Now we're going to go back. We'll talk about Rich in just a minute. Let's talk about Joe Ruttman. He's been lodged here with Rick Wilson for the last couple of laps.
Well, he got through the crowd real good. Got up to probably, I don't know, his 15th, 18th, 20th, somewhere along in there. And he sort of got hung there. He looks like, okay, he's 16th right now. And he's got right in there, and that's about the speed that he's been running.
Oh, Joe is off.
That's a shortcut. He's okay. See there, look at that. He come right back out. Didn't lose a thing. So, you know, I don't know from here, and I hadn't talked to Dale now how you know, if he's having a little bit of problem or whether he's just cooling until they have a caution flag or whether this is all he can do. But looks like he catches up good in the corners there. So I guess he's still got a long way to go yet.
And you can't plan on a bunching up caution flag on a road course, can you, Richard?
No, not the way we do, because when they do have a caution, then everybody has to start single line. You don't get a chance to get by the lap cars. If there's 15 lap cars in front of you when they throw the green, then you're 15th. So it really doesn't help a whole lot. The only thing is if you're about to get lapped or something, you can get caught back up in the crowd.
We mentioned that the average number of caution flags over the last 4 years has been 4, and it's been pretty consistent. The high water mark is 7 and the low water mark is 3, so you can expect a certain number of cautions, which may help you just a little bit, particularly if you have a bad pit stop. At least you can get caught back up.
Well, that's the main thing, is you get caught back up with the crowd, even though they might be a half mile ahead of you. That's better than being a mile and a half ahead of you. So basically, anytime that we have a caution here, is just like any race. It changes the complexity of the race and puts everybody in a little bit different situation as far as after the pit stop, where they've been running with somebody and maybe run them 15 or 20 laps, finally got by them, and then after they make a pit stop, these cars are back in front of them, and they got to do it all over again.
Driving a former Phil Parsons car, this is John Krebs. He's one of the California drivers, one of the Winston West drivers who has qualified for this race. And Johnny Krebs, in number 66, who started the race in 30th event, has gone off course, trying to move back up through the gears, although it's not working just right. Maybe Johnny's got himself a little more of a severe problem, too. The leaders have just put a lap for the first time on Dale Jarrett. Now, there's a father that you spent some time with in your career.
Yeah, with Ned. I used to run with Ned all the time. He was already running when I started, and we used to run a lot of dirt tracks. We run all the races, and you know, he was a real gentleman driving the car, and you know, I've had a lot of ins and outs with him. I guess we've had our fights like everybody else, but it all equaled itself out, because he's a good player.
There must be just an indescribable level of respect, though, between someone like yourself and Ned. No matter what's happened, the respect is going to be...
Well, you know, I think that's what happens. No matter who you get mad at, and no matter who you get to racing with or have trouble with, what you really admire about them or really respect about them is their ability to drive a race car and how they handle the race car, more so than their personality off the racetrack. So you have 2 really different standards when you're talking about people. One is how good they do on the racetrack, and the other one is how good they handle themselves off the racetrack.
Now, I know many of you who follow Winston Cup racing are probably a little frustrated because this is not an oval. You can't easily pan back and show you the first 10 cars. So just to give you an idea of who's running up in the front, let me run down this real quickly for you, for those of you who are regulars. We got Ricky Rudd in 3rd. Tim Richmond is running... Let's see, we've got a change here. We've got now as Terry Labonte is third, Ricky Rudd is fourth. Morgan Shepherd is running solidly in fifth position as the leaders click off another lap. Benny Parsons, strong run for Benny, is in sixth position. Bill Elliott, you saw him move into seventh around Dale Earnhardt. Running in ninth is Bobby Allison. Bobby is good on this race course. Neil Bonnet, despite being involved in an incident with Darrell Waltrip, is 10th. Michael Waltrip is 11th. And Dave Marcus is running in 12th. Those are the top guys, at least at this juncture here at Riverside. We anticipate pit stops coming up in the next 10 laps here on this road course. There you can see Bill Elliott getting around Benny Parsons, and that's a change in position in the top six. Just told you that Benny was running in sixth. Now it is Bill Elliott and Benny Parsons. Benny is running well out here today, Richard.
Benny likes this racetrack. He runs real good. What happened to run this racetrack and really get the best out of your car and stuff, you have to really be smooth race car driver. And Benny is very smooth. You know, you don't see him running off the track that much, and he's got a good line all the way through the race. And you know, he's not really hard on equipment. So this is the kind of racetrack that Benny really does good on.
Well, the previous winners here at Riverside are showing the way up to this point, although certainly there are a number of other top contenders who are still in it for the win here. The last 8 winners here at Riverside, there are the leaders. Jeff Bodine have been Darrell Waltrip, Tim Ritt, to be 40 seconds, but they're still very important, aren't they, Richard? They're coming up soon.
They're very, very important, and they're getting ready right now to some of the cars are going to start stopping because some of them can't draw but 17, 18 gallons out of the gas tank, because here you sling the car left and right. On a bank track or super speedway, you put the pickup in the right rear, and then it splashes all the gas over there, and then you could get most of it out. But here you get a little bit different. Going through the S's from time to time, the car will cut out. So we don't know really how many miles they get. Some of them will get some real good mileage, and some of them won't get any. So score how much they can pick up here.
Tanks are 22 gallons. Can you move them around, like maybe move them over to the right side of the car, maybe get a little more out of it?
Well, you can more on a super speedway than you can here, because you see as they come through the S's there, the gas goes from the left to the right, back to the left, and if you put the pickup in the middle, then you just catch it as it comes by. So on a super speedway, you go ahead and put it in the right rear, and you pick up most of it. So there's, of course, I don't know who that is.
Ruben Garcia, the number 32 car. That is not, and almost pulling out right in front of Morgan Shepherd. Ruben Garcia qualified at the back of the pack, another Winston West driver. This is the Suncrest Motorhome Chevy, and Ruben Garcia is another one of the regulars who normally runs here. But it's a tall assignment for these Winston Cup West regulars to try and combat with the Winston Cup regulars from the Deep South. Although we say they're from the Deep South, that's a traditional thing to say, but you guys race all over the country now, so I think that's going to be an antiquated term in about 10 years.
Well, it is, except that the teams are all located there. If you go down the list and start checking with where these people are from, they'll say they're from Charlotte, but they're coming from Connecticut, they're coming from Texas, they're coming from...
The leaders are coming in, Richard. Just as you called it, here comes Bodine and Tim Richmond. Tim Richmond perhaps taking a cue from Jeff Bodine. I'm sort of surprised to see both Hendrick team cars coming up at the same time. There is Terry Labonte, and Marty Reed is there.
Now we've got the clock on him, guys, and it's going to be tires on the left side at lap 26. The other thing that we want to point out, the reason they're not doing so well on fuel economy is because they got a lot of third gear operation here. Normally they could go down further. So let's go down to Bodine's pit and find out what's going on there. Dick Berberich.
Well, what's going on here is a 4-tire change right now, Marty. Richmond is right behind him. This is some of the tightest pit area in all of Winston Cup racing. There is not 6 inches between these two cars. Bodine looks like he might be the first out. Bodine has stalled the motor. Bodine has stalled it. Several cars are going to beat him out of the pits. Bodine, there he goes. Now he's running. Finally, Richmond behind him. Crew members scurrying. This is a very tight, very difficult pit situation we're looking at right now.
Terry beat them all out of the pit. The 15, I think, went out second, and then the 5 went out third. He kind of stalled, and then the 25 went out. But I think probably the reason that those boys probably changed all 4 tires was they got the fastest cars, so they're not really gambling because every one of them did the same thing.
Well, something else that we did not catch, Richard, and one of the reasons why everybody came in, the yellow flag came out. apparently for that Garcia spin, and we saw the leaders come tearing around turn number 9 and duck into the pits real quickly. We wanted to document that for you, but while the leaders were in, the yellow came out, and so most everybody came in here on lap number 27, which is pretty much what you were predicting.
And that's the reason that they're changing all 4 tires also. If it was under green, then it surprised me when I looked down and seen them changing 4 tires, especially under green.
So Terry Labonte reassumes the points, make that the race lead. I'm getting the cart before the horse here, so aren't I? Yeah. Terry, I thought, was one of the people who would be very strong in the points race in 1987, but Dale has been so strong and racked up so many points, he's kind of discouraged a lot of people.
Well, the deal with Terry is he's driving for Junior, and Junior's never been noted to come off the beginning of the season and really be that good and that strong. He sort of does a lot of experimenting, I think, at the beginning of the season, and then once he gets set on a deal, then he comes on and gets his stuff done. So they're really gaining on the points now. They've been pretty consistent about finishing. Well,
a brief pause in the action here, and as we know, many of you watch these races week after week, and we like to give you a little bit of extra information. So coming up is our gesture toward the added nugget of knowledge for this week.
Provision has developed a series of eye exercises to help racers off the track. Here, IMSA driver Bruce McGinnis demonstrates one of Provision's exercises as he matches colors to the center mark. This particular exercise helps timing and also peripheral vision. Other Provision exercises also work on concentration and help improve focus. The Provision exercise.
Some techniques like that are also being used with the championship auto race team, the Indianapolis car drivers. There are a lot of programs similar to that are occurring there. So motor racing is becoming very medical and very scientific. A lot of people are now getting into conditioning. They feel that heavily. A lot of these teams into the top of the qualifying list here. Of the brand new cars, Richard, something like the first 5 qualifiers and 6 of the first 10 cars were brand new.
Well, see what we did over the winter, they went from 3,700-pound cars down to 3,500-pound cars. Well, these cars that we run on the road courses were set up and everything, and you had a couple of 300 pounds in them, and you could meet the right deal on left and right weight and all that stuff. But then when they cut down 200 pounds, and some of the cars were too heavy, so a lot of the boys went and built new cars.
Kyle Petty is back in, and they've been thrashing and pounding on the inside of that engine compartment underneath the hood most of the day. We're getting ready to go back green. It's an unusual situation. If you've never seen the restart of a race here at Riverside, the restart of the race actually takes place right here. You see the green flag coming out from the window of the safety car. The drivers are told as they cross the start-finish line right underneath us on the front stretch. And Tim Richmond makes a move on Jeff Bodine going down that backstretch. Richmond in the red car on the right as you look at him. Labonte is the leader. Bodine is in the left there in the yellow and white Levi Garrett machine, and Richmond at least gets by Bodine, and Ricky Rudd is running in second spot. Just to finish that story, they tell you guys you're going to start on the front stretch, you start on the back stretch.
You start on the back stretch, start coming out on the back stretch deal, and there's always single lane because you just come off of all the S's, and that's the reason they don't double up.
Tim looks like he's beginning to feel his oats. Good tire setup, maybe?
Good engine setup. He's really strong down the straightaway, and of course he's handling good through the corner. Right there, that didn't have anything to do with handling. That's just plain horsepower when you pull out and pass him coming off the corner.
And passing on the front stretch, you have to hit turn 9 just right. You can do it, particularly if you out-brake somebody going into the first turn, which is actually a dog leg to the left. Again, you'll see most of the passing at the end of the long backstretch, but if you've got extra ponies underneath the hood, as Richard is suspecting that Tim has today, you can pass maybe in some strange places.
Well, some of the strange places, but the reason they pass down the backstretch, you get the draft. After you get back into high gear, you come under the bridge, the draft really plays an important part. And if you can jump up beside a car right through the dog leg to the left there, and then you can out-brake him, and then you got him.
We were talking about, Dick and I were, before you got up here, Richard, about the draft. That's the only place on this track where you really sense it, isn't it?
Yeah, this is a long backstretch. It is, yeah. All these others are just acceleration. Any racetrack that you run, until you get full acceleration, or mostly full acceleration, then the draft doesn't play a part. That's the reason it doesn't play a part on a half-mile track or a three-quarter mile. But then when you come to something like this, which is about a mile down the backstretch or three-quarters of a mile, the draft really is important.
Okay, I'll hit for you one more time how everybody has come out of the pit area after this first round of pit stops. It's Labonte, Richmond, Ricky Rudd, Jeff Bodine, Bill Elliott, then Morgan Shepherd, Bobby Allison, Dale Earnhardt, Neil Bonnet, Benny Parsons, Dave Marcus, Phil Parsons, Joe Ruttman, Sterling Marlin, and the number 18 car of Dale Jarrett, whom I believe is one lap in arrears. Those were the first 12 or so cars, the guys who got through the pit stops, apparently with no serious problems.
Well, see, it was sort of a break for Joe. Joe was caught back in traffic. He's probably not quite a half a lap behind. He's probably a mile behind. And then when they make the pit stops, then he's able to beat him out of the pit and throws him up in the first 8 of 10. So now he can go. If he can go, he can go from here.
We have seen a lot of Rick Hendrick cars. The 5-star championship team is what's on the side of the number 5 car. There are 5 Rick Hendrick cars here this week, and we told you that we think we may be on top of another major Hendrick story. How about it, Marty?
The word we have is that Paul Newman, known for his GTO competition, will be driving a Rick Hendrick automobile at Watkins Glen in the NASCAR event. Coming right to you, Rick Hendrick. What's the story?
Well, we've talked about it. Paul has tested in this car that Jim Fitzgerald's driving, and he's open that weekend. And so if nothing happens between now and then, we're planning on it.
So it's going to be a Paul Newman show, 5 cars again with Rick Hendrick's team.
Yeah, I guess so. We didn't plan it that way, but it seems to be working out that way. So we'll see what we can do. Hopefully all 5 of them can finish.
Well, I can tell you, ticket sales just went jumping up at Watkins Glen.
Darrell Waltrip is getting ready to come back out. Richard, they've spent a significant amount of time in the pit area, and as Darrell told you, hey, we're coming back out. We want to go racing.
Well, the reason they're holding him there, if he comes in what they call the back door here, they hold you 30 seconds. So instead of him going through 9 and spreading water and taking a chance on messing himself and somebody else up, he just comes in, makes a shortcut into the pits, and by doing that, then that's the reason.
Lap times that we're catching Terry Labonte at is about 1 minute and 22 seconds, and that's about 2 seconds off of what he qualified at. We mentioned earlier that Allison has been a strong road course racer here at Riverside. You wouldn't think that Bobby Allison, if you think back, well, all those wins in the super speedways and he runs all the half miles, that Bobby Allison would be one of the tough guys in NASCAR on Riverside, but he has been just as strong here as he has everywhere else.
Well, he's just an experienced race car driver. And you take Benny Parsons, that's never run that many road courses, or Darrell never run that many road courses. These boys come in, and if they got the ability to drive a race car, then they learn to drive on the road course. Now, some of our younger boys have come in, and they've gone to school for road courses. I know Kyle and Terry and a bunch of them have been and taken courses to how to learn to drive the road course, and it's really helped them. It put them to the equal of somebody that's got a lot of experience.
We've been keeping tabs on the progress of Morgan Shepherd the last couple of laps, and Morgan continues to run solid. He has never won here. He's only run here, as a matter of fact, a couple of times. Back up front, you can see, looks like Ricky Rudd is leading the way in terms of the number 5 car of Jeff Bodine, but the leader continues to be on it and get that car back into this race. I'm going to draw up for you the scenario of Tim Richmond. You know this racetrack is hard on equipment. Terry Labonte seems to have at least a car that's as quick as yours. You're in Richmond's car. What do? Do you park and ride? You follow him?
No, again, you wind up racing the racetrack. You don't really have to worry about it. But the deal with Terry is a lot easier on the equipment than Tim. If you'll notice him running through the S's and stuff, you know, Tim runs more like what I do. He doesn't use the racetrack a whole lot like that. But Tim is hard on the car.
Well, he did drive sprint cars under it.
But he has really been fortunate to run as good and stuff as he is here, because he's won races here and spun out and crashed and all that. But, you know, he runs hard enough and runs fast enough when he is on the racetrack to make up the difference. But here the difference is that it looks like Terry's just a little smoother through the S's, and you know, in doing that, then he's going to be easier on his car. And right now, I don't think Terry's really racing with anybody. And I doubt if the 25 car is racing. I think they're just making time right now.
Well, Kyle Petty, your son, Dad, has had a long day, but he's back out there thrashing away.
Yeah, they just had all kinds of trouble. I don't really know what the trouble is. I guess the thing's just skipping or whatever. But, you know, when they come up on him, he gets out of the way and lets them go. So he's just trying to make time.
Richard, something you haven't seen, we're going to show to everybody, including you right now, is something that Kyle was involved in last night before that he went home. And And it's pretty interesting. I've never seen vehicles quite like this. While that was happening, Tim Richmond tried the inside, then the outside, then went around. Terry Labonte, and Tim Richmond has taken over the #1 spot under green flag conditions. Now we'll see how Labonte takes to the challenge of Tim Richmond. If Richmond will wrestle that car through the S's and swish it back and forth, will Labonte go for that almost straight arrow line? You see Terry, whoops, sliding out just a little bit, getting a slightly loose conditions. He sets up for turn number 2, which is actually the first one in the S's. And Jeff Bodine is right there hiding in the bushes. We're going to go back and take a look at that pass here, Richard. Why don't you analyze this for us?
Well, we get into a situation here where he just goes on in the corner and just outbreaks Terry. Again, Terry's still looking after his car, I think. And Tim had a chance. He caught the draft coming down the backstretch and was able to really make a good run at him. And he just decided that this is the time to do it. And he just went on in there and did it.
Well, even though this is the desert, we are, maybe 55 miles or so from Los Angeles. So let's call it Hollywood. And we're also privileged to welcome to the ESPN broadcast booth today for the first time, Paul Williams. Paul, very happy to have you here.
It's good to be here.
Hello, guys.
How are you doing?
And yes, this is the same Paul Williams of music fame who's won Grammys and Academy. Have you won an Academy Award yet?
Yeah, I won an Oscar for Evergreen years ago. You know? And I've been lost out there by turn 6 a couple of times.
Paul himself involved in a lot of racing. As we see Bonnet go to the high side of Dale Earnhardt as they go into the high-speed turn number 9. Paul, you've been on Riverside. What is the trickiest part in your mind as a driver here?
Well, getting your excuses together for when you come back in, you know. Most of these people out here running, I've seen go by me a few times. You know what my favorite thing about this sport is that if there was nobody here to watch it, there'd still be people out here racing. It's just,
this is true.
It takes 2 cars and 2 opinions, and it's a wonderful thing.
Paul, you're obviously very much involved in your career, and you've been most successful in it. Why motor racing? It seems like that you would have a lot to risk, not only economically, but socially and health-wise.
Well, there's no telephones in the cars, for one thing. They can't get you back to the piano. I started racing out in the desert, hare and hound, hare scrambles, riding bikes, and I used to get hurt just getting the bike off the truck, so I decided to go with something with 4 wheels. And I've always said that if I could see over the dash, I'd win more often. But it's a fabulous sport, and I'm from the South and then the Midwest, and it's just I was raised on it to the extent that I was raised.
Well, let's run down for you quickly again. Again, I'm continuing with these updates because I know that it's a little frustrating. This is not an oval. You can't peer out there and see the top 10. So here are the top 10. It's 25 Richmond, 11 Labonte, 5 Jeff Bodine, 15 Ricky Rudd, number 9 car of Bill Elliott, 22 of Bobby Allison, 35 Benny Parsons stays in there. Then Neil Bonnet in 8th. Dale Earnhardt is 9th, and Dave Marcus is running in the...
They have a lot of trouble.
Now we get a report that Jeff Bodine is slowing down. I had a lot of sentiment from a lot of different people about this man's chances today, and Jeff Bodine is heading for the pit area. Let's watch this one close and see what Bodine does. Now remember, road course here at Riverside. The crew has about a minute or so to do its work. It depends on how slowly Jeff Bodine entered the pits. Marty Reed is there.
We've got the clock on him, and we're going to speculation only that it could be a cut-down tire. They are changing rubber on the left side. They're not going to look, checking the tires on the right side, topping off the tanks. This certainly wasn't needed for fuel because he could have gone at least 10, 15 more laps. But he's back out in 19 seconds, so it must have been something on the left side. We'll check up and get back to you.
Again, we'll remind you, the caution flags here have been pretty dependable. Not that many of them, but that average of 4.3 is a very representative number. We haven't had a race where there was none, and we have not had a race where there were 10. So that might not be a major setback to Jeff Bodine. If we have the unusual occurrence of no more yellow flags, he's in trouble.
Well, then he could be in trouble, but you got to figure that everybody's got to make some more stops too. So according to how good his stops are, according to what other people are doing, and a lot of times when you come in the middle of a pit stop, you got on new tires, you can make up a lot of time at that particular time.
At Riverside, California, watching Tim Richmond lead the race. This is Larry Nuber along with Richard Petty and Paul Williams from the music industry. And
Better.
Don't worry about phone books because there are certain aids I have to use to be the same height as Bob Jenkins.
Yeah, the only guy I could ever really team drive with was Gordy Johncock. We're pretty close to the same height.
is there more racing in Paul Williams' future?
You know, Paul Williams is off to Hungary to make a movie as a Wizard of Ed, you know, the comic strip. And I'm afraid that's going to be about a year, so this is going to be the last of racing I get to see for a while.
The radios tell us that Morgan Shepherd is done for the day as we look again at Dave Marcus, Phil Parsons, and Joe Ruttman. One last question for you, Paul. Something else that has happened as we watch 8th, 9th, and 10th. A lot of well-known entertainment, a lot of well-known people from other walks of athletics have turned to racing. Is this a recent phenomenon, or is it finally fashionable to say, yeah, I really like race cars, and that is a major league sport?
Well, I think it's not only the people that are driving them, but the people that are putting the money into the cars. When you see an underall automobile running around out there, you know that everybody wants to get into racing. And I think it's good for the sport.
Well, we have enjoyed you, and being one of the original Carpenter fans,
all right.
This is the first time that I think I recognized your name. I've enjoyed the work for quite some time, so thanks so much for joining us.
God bless you. I appreciate it.
Okay.
Thanks, Larry.
Okay, remember we are past the halfway point. Again, it's Dave Marcus, Phil Parsons, and Joe Ruttman, who is right now just out of the picture, and they are running 8th, 9th, and 10th. Earnhardt was in that group, but Dale Earnhardt had a tire go down. He came in, made a brief stop in the pits, in which they changed all 4 tires.
You know, I know he's running as good as he can, and he's running. There's about 5 or 6 people. There's 3 or 4 right in front of this crowd, and they're all running the same speed. They're just, you know, they're just running there. So now it's going to be how we make our pit stops, who gets a good set of tires, or how the circumstances now will change all this around. Not necessarily who's leading or who's running second. But Joe gets through the S's good. He really catches up good. Where he's losing time is he can't get off of 8, and I don't know whether that's that the engine's not working or he's got a different transmission than what I run, so that might be a little bit different.
Turn 8 right there coming up. A little move to the right and then back to the left. Now they're out of turn number 8, and as you pointed out, Richard, there is where Joe is.
They pull him a little coming off the corner down there, and you see how much further they got ahead of him, and he went into the corner right on their bumper. So here they are using the draft like I was talking. The time they get to the bridge, they've got running fast enough then to have a little bit of a draft.
Phil Parsons, Sport. Go ahead.
Okay, see, Joe is a pretty good ways behind right now. But he'll come down in this corner and catch a little bit. Time he gets back up into number 2 corner, he'll be right on their bumper again.
What draft there is, Phil enjoyed it that lap.
Okay, now they're making pit stops again.
Bill Elliott is in, and if he wants to go the distance on just one more stop, Richard, I suggest this is a touch early, 51
Well,
miles.
it is too early for them, but what happened, they're not figuring on one stop. They're figuring that they need the tires and they need the fuel. So, again, all of them will be starting to come in now just because of when they made their first pit stop, then they were able to figure how much gas they used and how many laps they could go, so now they're not taking any chances on running out.
Now, they've done a lot of work on this Ford power plant in 1987 to increase its fuel mileage, and it has been at some races one of the better combinations. They've done well this year.
After Poconos, they were getting super good gas mileage for Ford, and you know, they've worked on different areas. You work on one area, you get that kind of worked out, and then if fuel's one of them, then they start working on the fuel. So everybody's got his own kit going, and like you say, they're working on the fuel now because they've got the car running good and handling good. So they figure they're pretty good on that. If they can get the fuel economy now, just that much better.
Ruben Garcia goes down one more lap, and Harry Gant is fighting to stay ahead of, well, not Ricky Rudd. Ricky Rudd's coming in the pits. Ricky Rudd has been running with the leaders all day long. Routine stop.
It's just a routine stop. Like I say, they've done figured their gas mileage, and they knew they had to stop. And so the quicker they stop, the better tires they'll have on, and the better time they can make. So they're going to go to change all 4 of them where they won't. Next pit stop, they might just get nothing but gas and one set of tires.
I'm here. Okay, guys, we can tell you that Ricky Rudd getting 4 tires all the way around. And the other thing we talk about as far as fuel, you know, the one place you don't want to run out here is up in turn 6, because if you don't have gas up there, that's a problem not even roll aids could solve. Let's go back out on course.
Okay, Marty. You know, I think he's right.
Probably is.
It looks like we're setting up a situation here, though, Richard, where 2 pit stops are not going to do it. Everybody's coming in well inside the 100-mile mark, and as you pointed out, it's not practical to assume that you can go 100 miles on a road course, so everybody's going to have to make that 3rd pit stop.
Right, well, what we're going to wind up here is, according to how far they can go, is maybe just make a pit stop for gas, you know what I mean, and then run the next 4, 5, 6 laps on that. But this track is kind of tough on tires. Like I say, you see a lot of the boys coming in and having them cut down. Here comes Richmond in now. But they cut tires down, so once they get wore a little bit, you don't like to run on them no longer. You have to.
Tim Richmond, lap 55 in the pits of Tim Richmond.
We've got the clock running. Of course, 22 gallons of fuel is going to be going in. This is about when they said they would stop at lap 55, 56. They are changing left side rubber for sure. It looks like they're going to leave it go at that, and Tim is back out. 15.3 seconds.
His teammate is in the pits, and look who's working on the car, Richard. Kodiak people. Rusty Wallace team members are servicing Benny Parsons' car. Benny told me, Richard, that they were working his crew to death, that they really have been hustling, humping on those guys, trying to field these 5 cars, and the guys were kind of ragged, although they're still out there pumping out, doing their job, as is evidenced by the strong qualifying run by 4 of those cars.
That was a good pit stop, too. Yeah, that was a super good pit stop.
So Barry Dotson and crew has brought the Kodiak colors over to the Folgers pit.
All right.
Sterling Marlin is in the Piedmont Oldsmobile, co-sponsored by Underalls, one of the more unusual sponsors that has made its way to Winston Cup racing in the last couple of seasons.
Steve It's also sponsored by Piedmont. They've been in it a long
time. Yeah, they have. They really have. There is Terry Labonte, who is running in second place right now behind Tim Richmond. Labonte is working on the number 51 car of Jim Fitzgerald. That is not Jeff Bodine, that's Jim Fitzgerald. And Labonte is there making a stop, and our Dick Berggren is right there.
And he's going to watch them take on at least 2 tires, very possibly 4 tires, Larry. They do have 4 ready to do if they decide they want to. Big chassis adjustment inside the car. Big adjustment. 2 tires on the left side. Pete now with the jack running around. It's going to be a 4-tire change for Labonte. He just sits there calmly, coolly. The Thai team, meanwhile, picks up a tire that had gotten away from the 11 car a little bit. There goes Labonte at 25.9. Good stop.
Looked like they were putting some wedge there in the back, and they're trying to get some more weight shift over the right rear, perhaps.
Well, it could be. I don't know which way they was going to go with the car, but just watching him run and stuff, the car looks pretty stable. But he's a smooth driver. He just drives it at that particular speed. Where the Richmond, if the car's sideways or something, he just goes ahead and drives it.
Terry Labonte running in second spot behind that man who's in second on your screen right now, that being Tim Richmond. Third is Ricky Rudd. Fourth, Bill Elliott. Fifth, Benny. Neil Bonnet in the Bob Rahilly Butch Mock Valvoline sponsored car. They've had their high spots in this season, haven't they, Dick Berggren?
They probably had more low spots than high spots so far. When we did Dover 2 weeks ago, Larry, they were down to 1 car. They ran that race with a super speedway car. The car you're seeing service on right now, however, is a road course only car. It's brand new. They now have 4 out of their 5 cars ready. This is a team that has regrouped. They need a good finish here today, though.
Neil had a very good season on the road courses. There is Joe Ruttman in the pits. Last year, Neil had an 8th, a 5th, and a 9th. He was the 6th best in all of NASCAR on the road courses a year ago. That was Neil Bonnet. Joe Ruttman comes out right behind Neil now. I'm pretty sure they're on the same lap, Richard, so I think he's doing well.
They made a good pit stop. In fact, both of them made good pit stops. But Tim should have a pretty good lead now because Tim wound up just getting 2 tires and everybody else got 4. This is a 35 car.
Benny Parsons, Richard.
Yeah, this is Benny.
Yeah, Benny
Parsons. I don't know what his problem is. He's back over trying to keep from having to have a caution flag. He's back off the track. As quick as he makes it to those little red things there, then they won't have a caution.
Well, it's time for a fuel stop, so maybe that is the problem underneath the Folgers number 35 car. Not under the hood, but under the trunk.
Well, no, he's done stopped. He stopped because the other boys stopped. Other boys stopped and made the pit stop on the deal.
That's right.
So, maybe they didn't put gas in it. Maybe they just put tires on. Maybe they're mad at Benny. I don't think so. They had some kind of problem.
Yeah, you're right.
Major problem.
Benny did come in for that pit stop, but his teammate Tim Richmond having no such problems at all. Tim Richmond on the comeback trail. Remember, he had not driven a race car for about 4 months. He practiced at Darlington. He ran the Winston, and last week he won at Port Coconut. Bonnie, they've been having a real good go at it. This is second, third, and fourth. They're all chasing Tim Richmond, and in tandem, they're trying to find out which one can emerge in the second spot. Well, second, third, and fourth.
Yeah, I think Richmond's got a pretty good lead off them because he just changed 2 tires, and all these boys changed 4. So, they might be running quicker, Richmond is still in front of them, and they've got to run him down. So we run into a situation here that on our next pit stop, then these boys can change 2 tires. Richmond is liable to have all of his wore out. It'd be tough for him because the right ones he's going to have 2 pit stops on. So, you know, that's a gamble they're taking right now.
We're having a change for positions up in the top 2. Ricky Rudd is looking to the left side, the port side of Bill Elliott as they go into the high-speed turn number 9, but nothing doing this lap. Terry Labonte says, well, maybe I'll take this opportunity to go to the inside of Ricky Rudd, but they get through turn number 9 almost in single file, but no change in positions. Some of the other cars that remain out on course, Herschel McGriff, you can see Herschel right there directly in front of Bill Elliott, and Terry Labonte has gotten around Ricky Rudd. Terry Labonte, who led much of this race in the early 1/3 of it, has passed Ricky Rudd and has moved up to 3rd. Now, Dick Bergen is right now down in the pit area with a man who knows Paul Williams quite well because of parallel professions.
He sure does, and with Hal Needham. Hal is certainly the most active of all the Hollywood personalities in automobile racing, is the owner of Harry Gant's car. And he's also the spotter for the team. You stand up on the truck. What do you tell Harry from up there?
Well, just if there's a wreck somewhere, or tell him when the caution's out, because here he never knows what's going on. So I just try to keep him apprised of where the wrecks are, whether it's high, low, whether he should come in and pit. And a lot of times when he's up on the other end, he can't hear Travis Carter in the pits. Since I'm on top of the truck, I have a little, like a line of sight to him, so sometimes I just interpret.
From your line of sight, how does the race look so far to you?
Well, for us, it looks good, just the fact that we're running. We've had such bad luck, just to be running is good for us. Richmond looks real strong out there. I'd say unless he blows up, I'd say Richmond's got to watch.
That's Hal Needham. He's one of the biggest supporters of this sport.
As we continue to watch Harry Gant going around the outside of Rick Wilson, Terry Labonte in car number 11 has full-backed through Ricky Rudd and Bill Elliott. Terry Labonte is now number 2. Here comes Harry Gant coming out of turn number 8, swishing to the left off of that very important turn and down the longest straightaway. Remember, it's 3/5 of a mile here at Riverside. Skull Bandit is loose. Going by, and here comes Tim Richmond. Tim Richmond, the leader. The lead must be up in the vicinity of about 10 seconds now.
Yeah, it's somewhere about like that, because the other boys are busy racing with each other. A lot of times when you get to racing, then that slows you down also. So Richmond's got the full track all by himself. He can run the racetrack without having to race anybody. So, you know, we'll just have to see where they go from here.
You saw 14 cars on the lead lap. They are the 4 we've been mentioning. Then Phil Parsons, Bobby Allison, the strength of that amazing Dale Earnhardt streak. Although there's also a Tim Richmond win in there. Richard? Michael Waltrip. Michael Waltrip, who has been running competitively all day. He's been about 18th or 19th position. Qualified soundly for this event here today. Looks like that his day is also ending prematurely. Michael was 16th fastest, and apparently there's more news coming from this team in terms of their sponsorship. We mentioned that the colors represented some of the companies that they have been working on, and Michael comes to a stop in the pit area right in front of the number 6 car of Ron Esau. The yellow flag is coming out, and as the yellow flag comes out, the leader, Tim Richmond, right Johnny on the spot, or Timmy on the spot, takes the opportunity to come in and stop. Yellow flag pit stop for Tim Richmond. He angles the car so he has a straight line direction of attack. Once Harry Hyde and crew is finished servicing, they go to the left side. Marty Reed is down.
Well, the stop is already up to 9 seconds. Of course, it's not going to be too critical. They'll go ahead and change tires all the way around with the yellow flag out there. Tim Richmond taking as much fluid as he can. And you're right about that angle. He wanted to make sure he would not get boxed in on either end. Real smart move on his part. Let's go down to Dick Bergeron.
Well, we're down here with Ricky Rudd, where he's taking on left side tires, Marty. Now he's taking on right side tires as well. Behind him, Bill Elliott, also doing a 4-tire change. Marty, this pit is as crowded as any as I've ever seen. Very, very difficult circumstances in the pit itself, even on pit road. Crews jumping over the top of each other. We have 41 cars and one of the shortest pit roads in racing.
Well, without a out, this race is apparently down to 4 cars. Only 4 have shown the ability to run up front, and then only at times. Tim Richmond, certainly the leader of that quartet. Then the number 11 car of Terry Labonte. Let's see where he comes out after this round of pit stops. Ricky Rudd, he has been successful in this racetrack, been a good racetrack for Rudd. And the number 9 car of Elliott. That sort of covers all the contenders, doesn't it, Richard? Saw a quick glimpse of Bobby Allison there in the pits. We're just running down the top 4 people who look like they have a real shot at this race. Bobby Allison, by the way, he was the first guy to ever use a 2-way radio. He used it in this race here at Riverside back on June 19th of 1971. And
he's behind.
Yeah.
We did it in 59.
You did? Did you really? Did it?
But what we did then, all we had was citizen bands. And, you know, and you really couldn't pick up that much. And then they came with a high frequency deal, which Bobby was first one with a high frequency situations where you go through with the noise and everything.
Race on Father's Day here on ESPN. Tim Richmond is the leader of this race. The leaders have been shuffled because of this latest round of pit stops. We had a little bit of fun this week asking, who would you select if you had an opportunity to be a car owner to go after the Winston Cup Championship? If you couldn't pick yourself, a driver.
Who would you want driving your car?
Oh, it's easy. Junior Johnson. If I was going to pick somebody right now, I think I'd probably pick Terry Labonte.
If you were assigned the opportunity to pick a driver, anyone in the world, whom would you take?
I'd have to go get Dale.
It would be hard not to pick a Bodine or a Richmond or an Earnhardt, you know, and that's, I guess, cliche type of picking. But that's only 3 of a plethora out there of really superb drivers. I don't know, but I would go with those 3.
Whom would you select as your driver?
Oh, please help me. I don't want to be a car owner. I've been in that position before. That isn't an easy position to be in. I'm glad Rick Hendrick is my car owner. But if this was my team, who would I have drive? You looking for a ride, Larry?
Whom would you select? Is there someone you could pick out?
I'd probably retire.
Dale may have had the most honest answer, an answer to Jeff. Well, maybe if it's showroom stock, but I kind of lean toward the Jim Fitzgerald analytical answer. I kind of like that. It is Phil's 30th birthday, so not only happy Father's Day to everyone, but happy 30th birthday to Phil Parsons. And boy, they're really crowding the pace car. Coming out of turn number 8, Ricky Rudd makes a big jump, and Ricky Rudd is looking for the lead. Coming down the backstretch. Make that, yep, it is Ricky Rudd. I was beginning to think that might have been Bill Elliott, but it's Ricky Rudd who jumps to the inside and takes over. Look at the damage to the front of Terry Labonte's car. Terry Labonte has had a meeting with somebody or something. We are working on lap number 68. Make that lap number 71. We are under yellow there for about 3 laps, and the new leader is Ricky Rudd. Remember, Rudd, this may not be a flash in the pan. He has been strong here at Riverside. Richmond has been strong at Riverside. He won a week ago at Pocono, Pennsylvania, after that 6-month layoff from driving. It was perhaps the most emotional win in this driver's career. He has run super modifieds, sprint cars. He won the first rear engine race that he ever ran, a Super V at the Phoenix International Raceway. Tim Richmond was the biggest winner on the Winston Cup NASCAR trail a year ago, and so far in 1987, he has the best batting average. He's 1 for 1, and he's in it. Still 3 and 2 here at Riverside. I don't know what Labonte got, Richard, but he sure pops up, didn't he?
Yeah, I don't know. He must on the restart. Somebody didn't go, and he was ready for him to go. He must have did it at that particular time because I hadn't noticed it up to that time. So that's probably what happened. It does get all the confusion. You come out onto the backstretch, and it's about cars go about 5 or 6 abreast. You know, they just go out every which way. So sometimes somebody's over-jump somebody, and then you get into trouble like that.
Well, the lead 4 cars remain the same as they have all day long. Every once in a while, you'll see Bill Elliott creep into this picture. He is 4th on the track and 4th in the race. Running 5th on the track, by the way, right now is the highest-ranked Winston West driver, Chad Little. Chad, as we told you earlier, was a big winner out here a year ago, and this is a race within a race. The Winston Cup Winston West regulars are being ranked according to their finish within their own division out here. And so Chad Little right now stands the opportunity to perhaps win this race in terms of the Winston West regulars.
Well, they run pretty good, really. You've got to consider that they just run this kind of racing a couple times a year. And they come out and compete with the boys that do it day in and day out. And they do a very credible job.
Again, I want to say something, Richard, about how easy and almost great. And we've got a big spin there in the S's. Harry Gannams was off. Rick Wilson was off, and everybody seems to be, Harry once again takes to the grass. Maybe Harry's got himself some problems with the suspension or the undercarriage of the car. But Harry Gannams is down in the real serious markets.
Yeah, he's done missed something engine-wise or transmission-wise or brake-wise somewhere.
Harry was running in 10th position, sandwiched right between Sterling Marlin, having a good run out there today, and Ken Schrader. Kenny Schrader is driving a car that's not even a road course car. He told me they had to take like 200 pounds of ballast and move it around to the left-hand side of the car, which made the car heavier than the rules allow just to get the right balance for the road course here at Riverside. Well, Ricky Rudd showing some strength late here in the event. 13 cars in the lead lap. Richmond has been the most dominant car when he was leading. He had the biggest lead. Labonte has led a great deal of laps, and Bill Elliott has always been in it. But as I said, Richmond was the one who had the biggest lead when he was the man in the vanguard. Oh, Labonte really swinging out of turn number 6. We told you earlier that's a quick right-left flick. And Terry Labonte is beginning to scratch and claw. Maybe Labonte wants to move toward the front.
Well, he's in a sort of handicapped himself when he messed the front end up like that. These cars are so precision in their aerodynamics. And you just change a little panel or a little fender or anything on the car, and it really hurts you when you run against somebody that is running good. There's the 33 about halfway down the back stretch there. Now, whether he's going to make it back down all the way or whether they have to have a caution, we don't know yet.
Well, back and taking a closer inspection at the Terry Labonte nose, as we've been commenting the last couple of laps, he definitely has had a heated discussion with somebody. Marty Reed is down in the pits with this update.
Well, guys, we talked to Tim Brewer, crew chief for Terry Labonte, and you're right. They did have contact on the restart. They will not bring him in unless he complains about the car's handling or if the car starts to overheat. So far, no bad reports from inside the Labonte cockpit.
You saw that rapid moving around, maneuvering when the restart came out. Ricky Rudd used that opportunity to get around Tim Richmond, and so far Richmond has not been able to get Rudd back. Harry Gant coasting quietly, an all too familiar scene in 1987 with the Skull Bandit crew. Back up front.
Are pretty well running just about all they can do now. They got down to the situation now where there's, 20, 25 laps to go. You better go racing right now. And that's really what they're doing right now. They're getting just about all they can get out of those cars at this particular time.
It takes about a minute 20, minute 25, somewhere in that range to get around here. Once you get down within 20 minutes, you can see the race is a half hour from being over. But unlike a super speedway, when there's a half hour to go in the race, that means you've got a half hour of opportunities. On a road course, you might be able to cut that. And Tim Richmond may have the line on Ricky Rudd. They go into turn number 9. Rudd and Richmond both dirt tracking the number 9. Richmond has the line. Rudd is trying to hold on the outside. If he can hold on there till they get to turn number 1, he'll be on the inside. Ricky Rudd sticks. A left-hander coming up. Can Rudd hold on? Richmond goes high. Ricky Rudd fends him off.
Really what happened there, you get into a situation that...
and now Richmond gets by. Rudd just couldn't hold him back.
They can't hold him back because when you wind up, you watch that the same way down the backstretch and the same way there. The 25 is a stronger running car. He's got to go where he needs to go. And, you know, with just watching him run and stuff, Ricky gets through the S's good and he runs pretty good everywhere else. But when the 25 gets ready to go, he just goes on. That's what he did there.
Richard, I'll tell you, last week when Tim Richmond won, I thought that was a gigantic story. This is as tall as Mount Kilimanjaro. That's a big story for Tim Richmond to come back. And should he win the first 2 races coming back?
Yeah, it really is. I tell you where it comes to be the credit is the credit to the boys that's working on the car. You know, because any of those 3 or 4 drivers right there, or maybe 8 or 10 others, could do just what Richmond is doing. The deal is the car works good, the car's running fast, and Richmond's doing a decent job in it. So he's really looking good right now.
At the beginning of the show, we asked the question, can Tim Richmond pick up where he left off a year ago? At this juncture in this race, the answer is a resounding yes. Tim Richmond is back. He's back in a bit.
Second's fairly good, but from there on back to 10th or 12th place, just one race will put you from 10th place up to about 4th or 5th in the point standing if everything goes right. So that's going to be real important in how they finish here and then how we'll come up out of Michigan.
Richard, it's been a really good points battle behind Dale Earnhardt this year.
Right.
Elliott is still in second, but he's just 86 points ahead of Neil Bonnet. Neil Bonnet has had a consistent year. He's not been one of the people contesting for the lead every time, but he is third in points. Fourth is Kyle Petty, and fifth is Terry Labonte.
Well, what happened, he's been wound up finishing most of the races, even though, like you say, he's not won any. They've had a good percentage of finishing this year, and that's what it takes to get points.
Tim Richmond, who won his very first Winston Cup race ever here at Richmond and who has performed well on road courses. We told you his record of a year ago, is the man in the driver's seat, literally at this juncture, with inside of 20 laps to go. Inside of 60 miles to go. 79 laps have been completed of this 95-lap contest here on the road course at Riverside. And running a solid race today is, without question, Richard, his finest performance of 1987 is Joe Ruttman. You must be grinning.
Joe's done real good. I mean, you know, you got to figure now, he started for the, how many cars they started. He was the dead last car.
41st.
So, because I had to get out of the car and put him in there. So far he's done a super job. He's just not quite got everything together, but right now he's running 5th or 6th. So, you know, he's got a chance right there to pick up 1 or 2 positions, or he could lose a couple.
Well, 5th running is Phil Parsons. Elliott is 4th. Labonte is 3rd. Rudd is 2nd, and Tim Richmond is the leader. 7th, by the way, is Neil Bonnet, racking up more points toward that points total of 3rd place best that he has so far. Bobby Allison is 8th. Sterling Marlin in car number 44. I believe this is probably his best road course effort ever, is 9th. Jeff Bodine, having run at the leaders in the early stages of the race, but having mechanical problems about halfway through, is 10th. 11th is the 3 car of Dale Earnhardt. He's had a couple of unscheduled pit stops. And Ken Schrader is 12th, the final car on the lead lap. You know, Richard, we've come out here to Riverside several times in the last couple of years, and there's always talk about, well, this might be the last race for this course, and the update is that there is no update. That the way things stand right now is that the housing developments in the area continue to get closer. Now we see a battle shaping up for the top 3 positions. You see Richmond going out of the screen and first, back to the Riverside story in a second. Here's Labonte. Labonte testing the inside. Now he'll swing back to the other side, try that old dirt track maneuver, the crossover, but not this lap. Back to that story on Riverside. At this point, what NASCAR stand is, we will retain a race in the Los Angeles metropolitan area. And it looks like it will be back here at Riverside, at least for the midsummer race. What happens from there, they don't really know.
Well, you know, they've been working for the last 3 or 4 years since we lost Ontario, really, trying to replace another racetrack out here. And knowing that this one was going downhill.
Alan Kowicki, who has run smoothly all day. I was talking to Alan during qualifying yesterday. He said, Larry, this is not my cup of tea. Yet we were standing out by the chain link fence going into turn number 9, trying to figure where everybody was getting off the throttle, where they were braking, where they were downshifting. And we figure we came up with, at least Alan got into the show, but this is his first attempt really in a reasonably competitive race car to run a road course.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's something else. I have a lot of trouble running off dirt. I've been running here since they started running the place. So, you know, it's nothing to be ashamed of, I guess. At least when you do that, you can come in and say, okay, guys, I was trying. You know what I mean? I wasn't looping it through there. I was trying to get it done.
Well, there is Ricky Rudd going to the high side of Rick McRae. Now Labonte's going to try and use Rick. Well, Rick gives him plenty of room, but there still wasn't enough room. They were coming out of a right-hander, and Terry had to follow the racing line, which left him behind Ricky Rudd. Rudd is very good on this racetrack. You know, there was a time in the early stages of his career where he thought he might be going open-wheel racing, and this racetrack is along the same lines of what you would do. You see, Alan Kowicki's car is stopped out there above the S's. Well, let's go back and watch Alan lose it here. Yes.
I know how he feels. happened, the car got a little sideways and he overcorrected the thing, and when he did, he went right straight across the racetrack there. And once you get out in that thing, boy, I tell you, it's a lot of dust out there.
And Richard, it was proof that it didn't look like it was enough to really put the car completely out of control. We get lulled to sleep almost watching these people orbit around this road course all day long. It doesn't take much to put you out of control and out of the pea patches, does it?
Well, it really doesn't. What happened, you're running right on the ragged edge all the time, just running just as close to, you know, perfection, or as close and hard as you can go. And if you just you miss one corner there, he missed it because he cut a little bit too much inside, and when he did that, it upset the car, and then that was it.
Well, we're going yellow, Richard. I do not see the reason for it.
It's probably his car, because he's probably sitting up there right in the groove somewhere.
Yeah,
I don't know either, but that's probably what it is.
We mentioned that Alan was sitting up above the S's. The leaders come in. Here comes Tim Richmond. Ricky Rudd comes in. A very critical pit stop. Our pit reporters are down there. Let's see how it works out. Marty Reed is in Tim Richmond's pit.
And if they are putting fuel, topping off the tank, that'll take care of that question for us for the rest of this race. And as far as tires, they're going to go on the left side. Let's go to Dick Bergman with Ricky Rudd.
Marty, same thing here. A load of fuel, no tires on the right side as well as the left side. It will be a 4-tire change here, Marty. Are they going to do 4 down at your end?
Absolutely, Dick. They have decided to go 4 all the way around. So it looks like it's going to be a race to see who gets back out first. There goes Richmond.
Elliott was out first. Bill Elliott is out first. Rudd is 3rd or 4th. Richmond is maybe 5th out. Joe Ruttman is still in the pits. Labonte goes out. He is behind both of the Fords as well as, Richmond. So I believe that Bill Elliott will be the leader among the lead cars, but Phil Parsons didn't pit.
Bill's running pretty good. He wasn't that far behind these people, and they were outrunning him. The only thing now is they're going to have 4 new tires, and he's going to have 4 used tires, so he can make it on fuel. So now we've got to figure out, you know, how quick can they catch him, because they're going to have a bunch of lap cars in between.
Has made an extra pit stop. Now he changed all 4 tires the first time. It drops him to 12. Tim Richmond has changed 4 tires. Ricky Rudd has changed 4 tires. Phil Parsons has not pitted. Joe Ruttman changed 4 tires, comes out back in about 10th. Bill Elliott is now 2nd in the race, the only one who has changed 2 tires. What do you think, Richard?
Well, I tell you what, it's a gamble any way you go at it. You know, like Elliott and them figure that, you know, they can do 2. These people are going to have to pass them. That's the reason the 55 stayed out. He says, hey, you know, we might not can run that good, but they've got to catch us and pass us. So, you know, maybe with just 8 to 10 laps to go, maybe it's a good move.
As they remove Alan Kowicki's car, we're going to take another break. Just one little comment. Earnhardt and Elliott have dominated the season, right? You know how many laps they own? Phil Parsons, remember, is the leader. That orange and white car is Herschel McGriff. Richmond is on the outside of Bill, and they go 3 abreast into turn number 9. Herschel gives them plenty of room. Richmond dirt tracks into turn number 9. He comes out on the inside of Bill Elliott. Ricky Rudd is right behind that duo as they chase the leader. There he is, Phil Parsons. Running in 5th is Joe Ruttman. 6th is the number 75 car of Neil Bonnet, and here comes Tim Richmond. Richmond goes to the left side of Bill Elliott and moves into 2nd. 7th is the 5 car of Jeff Bodine. 8th is Bobby Allison. 9th is Dale Earnhardt. 10th, Ken Schrader. 11th, Sterling Marlin. And 12th, after an extra pit stop, is Terry Labonte. 10 laps to go.
See, there is a prime example of what I was talking about, just plain this car running fast. Didn't outmaneuver anybody, just pulls out and goes on by him and runs. So there he comes there.
Herschel McGriff almost getting out right in front of Joe.
That ain't helping me none.
Joe has got a competitive pit
anyhow,
there.
Richmond just, you know, when they got through the end of the S's there, he called the 55 because the 55 didn't have on new tires.
Tires make such a big difference, and when you have the opportunity to stop and get fresh ones late in the race, boy, that's what will win or lose the race.
Yeah, you get into a gambling situation now. Richmond's long gone now, see, because Elliott will mess around and race with the 55 for a while there. The 15 back there because he can't get by the 9. So, you know, it just leaves Richmond really an open field right now. He got off that 1 lap there to winning the race.
It goes 1, 2, 3, and 4. And by the way, while we were talking, Neil Bonnet outbraked Joe Ruttman, and Bonnet has bolted into 5th position, and Ruttman is now back to 6th. But Phil Parsons attempting to hold his own against perhaps better performing cars and terms of the rubber compound as it meets the road and creates that coefficient of friction. Parsons trying to hold back Bill Elliott and then Ricky Rudd. Tim Richmond, who has emerged as the dominant car in this race. He followed Jeff Bodine for some stages of this event. He followed the number 11 car of Terry Labonte. But all along, Tim Richmond has been one of the top 3 cars. Tim Richmond, hard on the comeback trail, and all of a sudden, Richard, I find myself sounding redundant. It doesn't seem like a comeback trail. He's right back where he was a year ago.
No, it's just like he hadn't been away, you know, and he comes in and, you know, and the car's working good, and he's really jacked up for it too, you know, because he has missed the races. So the whole combination is really, really working super good.
You know, people lose sight of...
There goes one spinning out. Wow.
Bodine is meeting with the concrete in turn number 9. It was not a hard contact, but Jeff Bodine was racing in the top 10, and the caution flag is going to come out. Now, the big question is, as we look at Jeff Bodine's spun car, is whether or not Phil Parsons will say, well, the gamble for the win didn't work, so Jeff Bodine dismounting. I'll come in and change tires, and maybe I can make
No, I don't think so, because he's still 3rd or 4th. Second, I guess he is, isn't he?
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean? So there would be no need of him really coming in. He's still going to have to take a chance. If he took it to begin with, then he's going to have to stay out there and live with what his decisions are.
Remember at the beginning of the show when we told you there's an average of 4.3 caution flags here at Riverside? Well, we're in the final stages. This was caution to go. Green flag is out. Richmond streaks off. Phil Parsons in pursuit. Then there's Elliott. Rudd. And Labonte is back there somewhere. He's not caught up with the leading quartet yet. You can see the STP orange and petty blue of Joe Ruttman. He runs in the top 6. And there is Neil Bonnet. And Neil Bonnet may be feeling pretty racy. Neil Bonnet looks to the inside of Ricky Rudd as they come around the 1/3 mile in length turn number 9 here at the 9-turn Riverside course. We only use 8 of the turns. That's not the case. Here at Riverside, the Ford products won the first 10 races if you include Mercury. But since then, there have been only 2 more Fords. Chevy won none of the first 10, and now they have won 14, including 6 of the last 7. Tim Richmond pilots a Chevrolet. A Matador won twice here. Remember Bobby Allison and Mark Donahue? There is Phil Parsons trying to hold back Ricky Rudd and Bill Elliott. Phil Parsons using up as much track as he possibly can. He skates into an off of turn number 7. Oh. Bill on those old tires was trying to preserve second place, Richard.
Well, he was trying just a little bit too hard instead of knowing that these boys can outrun you. You know what I mean? Instead of being a little more patient and trying to save a little something, you know, then he messed up. But this is pretty interesting here.
Bonnet is the second fastest car on the track. No question about it in my mind. Neil Bonnet worked his way around Joe Ruttman easily about 3 or 4 laps ago. Now he's gotten by Bill Elliott. Phil Parsons succumbs to the pressure of this trio. There were 3 of them working on Phil. There really wasn't much he could do. And now Neil Bonnet is trying to catch the number 15 car of Ricky Rudd, one of the recent winners here in Riverside. And Bonnet, high up in the point standings, is going after the runner-up spot.
Yeah, Neil got a good break when 55 spun up there, and then he hit the traffic just right to be able to pull up in there. But he is really good enough to be there.
4 laps to go. 4 laps to go here at Riverside. Tim Richmond swings around through the S's. Make that 5 laps to go at Riverside. 5 laps. Getting my yellow flags and my green flags mixed up. And Tim Richmond once again returns to where he was in each of the last 2 green flag segments, and that is a dominating lead.
It really is. That's a heck of a lead, that's for sure. Neil is really getting through the S's good. It really looks like the car is really working good.
No more pit stops will play a role in today's race, and Tim Richmond, repeating again, he won the race the first time after his comeback from a serious illness from the winter at Pocono last week, and Tim Richmond is on the verge of making it 2 in a row. Tim Richmond, the man like Willie T. Ribbs, who is known for very very special Victory Lane celebrations may be headed for yet another. Now, again, I'll repeat that I understand the frustration of those of you who follow Winston Cup racing. You just can't get all the way around and see who's still out there. So here we come down 5 laps from the end. I'll give you a rundown, not necessarily the order they're running, but the cars still on the track. It's Richmond, Rudd, Bonnet, Bill Elliott is the first 4, then Joe Rutten. Terry Labonte is now 6th. Earnhardt is 7th. Bobby Allison is 8th. They're within about 10 seconds. Sterling Marlin is 9th. Herschel McGriff 10th. Kenny Schrader, and then Bobby Hillin Jr., Rick Wilson, Harry Gant, Phil Parsons, the number 71 car of Dave Marcus, 14 of Ruben Garcia.
Well, they got about a little over a 2-second lead right now with what, 3 laps to go. So all he's got to do is stay on the racetrack and he'll be all right. It looks like Terry's going to catch up with Joe here. See, Terry had to make that extra pit stop and change 4 tires. So he's coming on strong. He just got caught behind all that traffic on the restart.
Terry Labonte, the Junior Johnson machine. Tim Brewer taking over the complete control in terms of the crew chief for all of the events. There are all the leaders. Yes, they're all on the same lap, and this would be close if this were an oval down in the Deep South. But here on the road course, unless somebody makes a mistake, it's difficult to pick up 7 or 8 car lengths. But when someone does make a mistake, it happens like lightning. Just like that, you're caught up to the guy in front of you. And Terry Labonte is trying to work on Joe Ruttman going to turn 9. Joe's trying to hold him back, but Labonte scoots underneath as they enter turn 9. 5th and 6th has now been swapped. Labonte owns it. Ruttman had it. Gives it up. Some more of the people still out orbiting around this road course here in the middle of the desert. I think we stopped off about a Dave Marcus on the last lap. There's a fairly big difference between Marcus and then the number 14 of Ruben Garcia, the 32 car, 6 of Ron Esau, Darrell Waltrip, Jim Fitzgerald, the 95 car of Chad Little, the 66 car of Johnny Krebs, the 12 car of Jim Bound, Jimmy Means, Buddy Arrington, 67 car being driven by Chet Phillip. We continue to watch 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. There is Ricky Rudd, very up close for you. Kyle Petty has returned to this speedway, but to no avail. He's several laps down, and Rick McRae is one of the final cars running on the course, as are the number 18 car, our provisional starter of today, Dale Jarrett. Number 7, Alan Kowicki, the reason for one of our yellow flags, has returned to the racetrack. Tim Richmond, meanwhile, has stretched out the lead. It's about 30 car lengths.
Yeah, they've got everybody pretty well separated now. The only thing that looks like it's going to be any challenge is that the number 11 car is catching up with the 9 car. So he's got 2 more laps to do, and that's going to be a close race by the time it gets down to the end of it.
Tim Richmond is looking toward his 13th career win. Many of those wins coming a year ago. He won 7 times in 1986. He won no times in 1985. And prior to that, his best season was a 2-win season in 1982, the first year that he won. But win number 12 coming up for Tim Richmond, and those wins have taken place in a span, Richard, of about 18 races.
Yeah, he's done really good. He's really hit everything just right. Good combination deal, and just like Earnhardt was at the beginning of the season. In fact, he stretched his lead out now to almost 2.5 seconds, so he is definitely the quickest car on the racetrack.
Richard, we were talking about physical fitness and how scientific motor racing has become. Tim is one of the stronger athletes running in Winston Cup racing today. Do you think that's a factor?
Well, it's a definite factor. It helps. I don't think that the strength was last week or this week. A lot of all the things that we do is strictly comes down to mind over matter situation. And so, you know, when you run into that kind of deal, he's been resting for 6 weeks, 6 months, and he has really been gung-ho. He's really been wanting to do it. So he's trying it very, very big.
The white flag, symbolic of 1 more lap to go, and they're side by side for 1-2 for 4th position right now. Terry Labonte and Bill Elliott are testing each other as they come past our position at the start-finish line. There is the leader, Tim Richmond, and Richmond is going to win this one easily if he just keeps it between the white lines. It's like going home at night when you're really tired. Just steer between the white lines and you'll get there.
That's the main thing. He doesn't smell victory lane now, so all he's got to do is idle around. He's in good shape.
Tim Richmond. There is the Alan Kawicki car, the second running car of Ricky Rudd, and Neil Bonnet still has designs on the runner-up spot. Bonnet is bird-dogging Ricky Rudd as they sashay out of turn number 6. Richmond moving out of turn number 8, heading on to the long backstretch, moves up through the gears, stands on the throttle for the second to the last time. He's got one more time to do that, and that is coming out of turn number 9 and coming down the front stretch. Tim Richmond on the shelf for 6 months, has not had an opportunity to run in a Winston Cup race. He approaches the final turn. It's about a 270-degree radius corner. It's banked maybe 10, 15 degrees, a third of a mile around. Tim Richmond going after win number 2. When he crosses the finish line, Tim Richmond will be 2 for 2, batting 1,000 in 1987. Here comes Tim Richmond. He's a winner again. Amazing story. Richard, I'll tell you, that leaves me with a very big impression.
Well, it does. It's got to know that, you know, you've been out of doing anything, and then you can come back and win like that. But, again, the team has not been idle. They've been running with Benny. They've been testing things. They've been doing things. And I think that, you know, the difference in the deal is that Tim's a little more aggressive than other boys. And you know what I mean. Again, he's rested. He's ready for it. He's gung-ho, and he's just driving on sheer determination right now, I guess.
And from the very beginning, Tim Richmond has proved that this is his racetrack. There is his mother, Mrs. Richmond, here on Father's Day, getting congratulations as Tim Richmond has moved again. Fellow drivers here at Riverside. Tim Richmond wins for the, let's see what it is, the 4th time in his career here at Riverside. 7 times now he's finished into the top 5. Is Riverside a Tim Richmond track? Yeah, I'd say absolutely. He was the winner here of the Budweiser race in 1982, and he also won here last season, we told you, in 1986. But today's Budweiser 400 belongs to the Folgers coffee machine of Tim Richmond. 3 of the first 4 cars, incidentally, remember this point that was made by Dick Bergman early in the broadcast, were brand new cars constructed over the winter. They've been working on them and getting them ready for the road course action here at Riverside Raceway. But Tim Richmond heads the parade down pit road, gloves off, waving to the crowd, goggles up on top of the helmet, and heading for Victory Lane, a place where Tim Richmond has become a very frequent visitor in the last season. Remember, all of those wins were in the second half of last year. In the second half of 1987, it's beginning to look like it might hold more of the same. Won over $973,000 a year ago, will not win that much in 1987. But he's well on the trail to a $500,000 plus season, and Marty Reed is there.
Oh, we got one happy Tim Richmond as he gets out of the helmets. Just tell me what you're thinking right now.
Oh, God, it's unbelievable. You know, I knew Harry and all the guys were good last year, but they're great this year. I mean, they're putting stuff under me that can't lose with.
The car looked like it had more power than anybody else at any time you needed it, and you mentioned the crew.
Well, yeah, the crew, all the engine builders, Mark and everybody back at the shop, and just everybody. I mean, you know, you're only as good as the equipment that you run, and they give me the best equipment, so it ought to be the best finishing position. It ought to be first, I guess.
2 in a row. Should we just stop running these races and just give you the trophy from now on?
Well, I'd like them to average out my 2 Winston Cup races I've run this year and let me have the points that I would have had from the beginning, and then we'll go for the championship, maybe.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to let Larry Newber figure that situation out. Let's go back upstairs. Congratulations. Oh, hold on.
Down in Deerfield, down at the Rib in Paradise 66, and my sister in Ohio. I wish y'all would have been here. Something else, let me tell you. Thanks.
Congratulations. Let's go back to Larry.
Thanks, Marty. And to Tim's dad, whom himself was a race driver. He ran super modifieds in the Sandusky, Ohio area back in the 50s and 60s, where Tim kind of got the bug. Now Dick Bergman is down with another story.
Good job, and we was going to wait right to the end. We're up there in the points, so we wanted to wait to the end and make a run at him and need a little bit more, but I'm tickled to death the way it turned out.
And a brand new car at that.
Brand spanking new, a little one owner now, not damaged too bad.
Windshield broken, what happened?
Yeah, the windshield's broken. I was following Rutman, and he was going off the track all the way up through the S's and knocking the windshield out every lap, so I had to get around him.
Well, he's a good race driver. The first thing he did when he got out of the car was thank his crew.
Well, this apparently is the year of multiple winners. All you got to do is win one, Richard. You're going to win a couple because this is the third guy.
I'm waiting on that first, and if I get